Welcome back to Time to Lean with Laura and Crystal, where you air your dirty laundry and we help you clean up your shit. We just really want to say thank you to everybody who's been sending questions and stories. We love getting those submissions. You can find all those links to submit any of those, any comments, questions, concerns in our show notes and on our Instagram. Today we've got a listener question and a topic a ton of us deal with. So let's get right into it.
How are you, Crystal?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. It's been a weird week and it's still raining in Southern California. So it's a weird space to be in, but it's good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I've heard a lot about the rain. Is it like the rainiest it's ever been there?
It is literally the rainiest it's ever been in my very recent memory. I mean, that one day it snowed for like 2.5 hours where I am, which is very, very unusual. And yeah, it's been raining. I mean, if we get like 1 or 2 days of sunshine straight, it's like in the last like 6 weeks, that's a lot of sunshine. It's very rare right
so
now.
Bizarre.
Yeah, we don't encounter weather in California, so we're going to talk about it for the next 6 months. So
I mean, I hear about it all over the internet. Speaking of the internet, we'll get right into it. I posted something on our Instagram, which was like, it's a picture that came up on some big influencers' stories, and they were like, hey, my kid brought this project home from school, and it's like a portrait of the family, and it seems real. I don't know. I was like, this is fake. This has to be fake. But the way that she presented it seemed real, and it's like my family. And it's a picture of it's a mom and a dad, and how many kids? Like 3?
4.
Four
It's
kids.
4.
Okay, 4 kids. And daddy is smiling, and the kids are smiling, and they're like right next to daddy. And then mom has the most exaggerated frown. She is mad. She's very mad.
She's like furrowed brows, the whole deal.
Yes. And I posted it on our Instagram, and we got some responses. People had feelings about it. So
Big
Crystal,
feelings,
what came up for you?
What came up for you? Can you tell me more about that? So I would be fully lying to you if I said that like when my kids became school, because usually I feel like that's like a kindergarten activity, like a kindergarten assignment, like, all about Steven or whoever. And then like talking about your family and pets and whatever. If I told you I was not scared of that assignment to see what that would come out like, I'd be lying to you. And to get that back, I mean, first of all, like as a therapist, I'm looking for a couple of things, right? It's very striking to me that like all the kids are lined up with dad directly in the middle, right? Dad is like a very important figure. He's right in the middle. Mom is like behind them and off to the side. So she's kind of like othered in that picture. And then the other thing that stood out to me is like how well dressed dad is. Like dad is like very well put together and situated. But if we're assuming, let's say that kid is like 5, that's like 4 kids under 5. Like that's a lot. I would look like that mommy. I would be mad mommy.
Yeah,
At
don't
that
you?
point.
I mean, how far apart are your kids? You have 3, which to me is a lot.
I have 3. It's a lot of kids. My sisters and I, the sisters that are right underneath me, we're all 2 years and then 18 months apart. We have 9 kids between us, ranging from 10 years old to 9 months old. So I have 3 kids. My oldest is 10, and then the next one is 8, but they're only 2 years apart for like 9 months out of the year. So they're like 21 months apart. And then the next kids, the middle and the youngest, are 4 years apart because we were only like, no, we're going to have 2 kids for a really long time. The addition of a 3rd kid almost killed me, just in terms of like logistics. And our oldest was going into 1st grade. We were driving in kindergarten. So I was like pumping with a Willow as I drove them to school with the newborn screaming in the back. And I had postpartum depression after my oldest and my youngest. So I would fully be that mom.
Yeah, I think what came up when we shared it, and I definitely feel this way a lot too, is like there's a different dynamic between parents. There's a different dynamic between when one parent is responsible for other things. And a lot of times the women in cishet partnerships take on the burden of planning heavy decisions, like this massive mental load, which we talk about all of the time. And they have to be the bad guy. And I know you and I have talked a lot about, like, you know, sensory overload, just like the overwhelm of being touched all the time, needed, asked your name over and over again. Even when my oldest says my name 8 million times a day, it's just like part of how she talks. And so before she starts any sentence, we'll be like, Mom,
Mama,
Mom. And I love her so much. She's great. But I am like not full of joy and perky by 7 p.m. And I am
100%.
tired.
One year we bought the kids like those ticket tracker things, like if you go into a baseball game and they're like click 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 click. And this might have been during lockdown, like might have been during quarantine. And I had one, and Ben was like, they don't call your name that much. And I was like, so I got the ticket track, and it was literally, Laura, like 80 minutes within, or 80 times within like 3 minutes. It was wild. I was like, this is auditory overload. Every time they say my name, I've got an overwhelming sense of shame that I'm not doing something I'm supposed to be doing. Like, there's so much.
Yes.
So, yeah. That mom is fully relatable.
Yeah, angry mommy. And there's like this other dynamic that happens. And I know in my household, my husband works long hours and gets to hang out with them like during the morning when they're refreshed. And so they come back to me from daycare and school, and they're tired, and they're like, everybody's upset because it's the end of the day. And so, yeah, I totally see myself in that. But also, I know that this has shifted in the last couple of years because my husband, I can like jump out. I can be like, I am out. I am going away. And I'm not like, it's not as if I am setting somebody up for childcare. He's an equal partner where I'm just like, dude, I got to dip. This is too much.
Yep.
And that is like it's a lifesaver. And you know what? He gets an equal chance to be an asshole sometimes. He gets to be mad daddy.
Yeah, 100%, right? It gets to, like, your kids get to see that balance of the two. There was fully a time in all of my kids' like babyhoods where I was like, I mean, and I still sometimes do it if I'm just like having like a low mental energy week, where I'm like, cool, after dinner, I'm out. Like, let me know when everyone's asleep and I'll be back. Because I for tonight, I can't do like baby put downs. I gotta be gone. So yeah, absolutely. It gives you so much mental energy back.
Yeah.
What would you like if this mom were like in the room, what would you say to her?
What do you say, Crystal? Validate, validate, validate.
Normalization and validation.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really important. Like, parenting is super hard. It is normal to be mad or stressed out or not be like, I was just looking at Ballerina Farm, like the momfluencers who are never upset, or even when they are upset, they're like, they're so like nice, and it's like not the normal kind of upset.
Yep. It's almost like a curated like upset.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, Casey Davis just got in trouble for this. Did you see that? Casey Davis of Struggle Care, Domestic Blisters.
No.
She said out loud, she's like, something that I don't like is that when I get overstimulated, I yell. And people in the comment sections were like, do better. Like, that's abusive.
Oh my God.
And she's like, do you realize I said this out loud because it's something I deal with and don't like about myself and would like to do better. But I'm also aware that this is like, you know, we're all undoing our traumas and trying to be better.
Yeah.
But we're human.
Yeah. We're fully human. Yeah. I mean, God, that I wouldn't love her TikTok audience to see me on like an average day.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like, God forbid we be judged on that kind of a level. Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure. And I don't think it's unreasonable to like have a conversation with a partner in that instant. Well, first of all, actually, one really important component that I want to mention just really quickly was that my irritability and anger was actually what finally got me to seek a diagnosis for postpartum depression, because most people don't correlate or don't know that irritability and anger with like like an overwhelming sense of irritability and anger that can't really be squelched or like handled is a sign of depression, right? That's a symptom of depression. And so, and it's definitely a symptom or a signal to have something further evaluated to like seek out help. Because I think it's just almost normalized of like, well, yeah, moms are just mad all the time because mommies do all the things. And it's like, that's not fair. Like, not only is it not fair to that mom, but it's also not fair to that mom's mental health or to that family, right? Like, getting the help that you need and the assistance that you need. And of course, also is like almost inextricable from the fact that like you have a right to be angry.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, Jess Gross wrote screaming on the inside about the like unsustainableness of American motherhood, which is great. And she does propose some solutions, so don't get freaked out because it is a little bit hopeful. But yeah, absolutely. Like you can also ask to not have to manage all of that mental load. You can try to empower your partner to offload those things and not. All of this world wants us to feel guilty and like we have to your point, that we have to overburden ourselves with these things. And here's the thing that I got into a lot. I thought I was punishing my husband by having him do all of this. And I was like, no, it's fine if I do it. It's fine if I'm suffering from this. But because I'm suffering, adding more to his plate, I felt guilty for that, or for offloading,
like
for
you
asking.
should be able to handle it.
Yes. So, like, permission. Maybe we can give permission. Like, you don't have to do it all.
Absolutely. You don't have to do it all, nor should you.
Right.
Right. Like, one of the things that I did it's a long story, but I went to I was interested in buying my own franchise, a Fit for Mom, and like owning my own franchise to like run that business. And one of the VPs of sales was like, why do you want to do this? And I said, I don't want my kids to only see me as mom, right? Like, I want them to know that like I'm a person and I'm their mom.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need support for that, right? You can't do that in a vacuum.
You can't do it in a vacuum, nor should you. And you should feel free to be able to ask for that help. And you should, partners at the very least should be open to listening to what your needs are and to meeting that need.
Yeah. Okay. I want to take this. This is a really good like bridge over to this DM that I got. And we can say should like all day. And a lot of this is like, hey, we can empower you to at least like give you permission to want those things, to do those things, to ask for those things. And obviously both of us are certified in fair play. That's a good place to start. Going to your own therapy is a good place to start. But couples counseling to communicate about these things in a way that doesn't feel like an attack. But I want to read this DM, which is, I'll just read it and then we can get into it. Okay. It says, I wanted to share some good stuff happening and changing in my partnership. I went away last week with our youngest and he managed school drop-off and dinner, bedtime, etc. My parents and his mom assisted with school pickup. When I got back, he asked if he could continue doing that. He's just changed jobs too and has more time in the morning than before. So now I can sleep in and stay home with the youngest while he does the entire morning routine. I very happily agreed, and we talked about how much fun it can be to be a part of these really simple daily moments. Right now, these moments are her whole world, so they matter more than ever. I just feel like as much as I divulge our faults, I want to share and celebrate the wins. This only came when I gave up trying to control his actions and actually began changing my own. only what every therapist ever has been telling me. So I share that because this is not putting blame on women for taking an additional burden, because I think the context of how we got to this like broad inequity, it didn't happen within your individual partnership. You are not individually responsible for what happened to all of us, but we can be individually responsible for and take accountability for doing better. And there are so many benefits to it. So, Crystal, what do you think?
I love that. Like, I want to make sure I respond to the DM, but I love what you said there too about like your partnership is not individually responsible for like the overarching systems that affect your partnership. I think that especially like after like the Fair Play documentary and the Fair Play book, I have clients come to me who will ask, like female partners in cishet relationships will say like, okay, so like what's your kind of approach with the husbands? Because I kind of want, like, I'm going to be honest with you. We watched the documentary. He was a little bit like defensive or like frustrated, didn't really like the light that men were painted in. And I think that it's really important to recognize that there are two different things happening here for women in cisgender heterosexual relationships, partnerships, where there is a collective rage that is fully fucking justified, fully fucking valid. And I can't turn to my husband and go, I just fucking hate you. You're a piece of shit. Right? Like, that's not my intent. Mm-mm. That's not my feeling toward him. Right? And because this wave of feminism is bringing men in just now, they don't have time to catch up. So it just kind of looks like a collective overall rage against men in general. And to this writer's point, right, she, like, her words, right, gave up a little bit of the controller, was able to, like, let go of it a little bit. And he got to experience something magical. Mm-hmm. He got to experience the magic of, not every morning, clearly, but, like, the morning routine, right, with his kid of, like, oh, God, like, this is what makes up her life. As she grows, she's going to be like, no, I can remember mornings with daddy, right? I had mornings, like, with dad. That's what we did. Oldest kid, because she gets to sleep in and be with the youngest. So it's like, oh, this is, like, special daddy and me time, right? Which is so needed, and not in, like, a supplementary, like, oh, that's sweet. Like, kids need to bond with their mom, and, like, if dad's around, like, right? Like, it's integral. Mm-hmm. He is integral in that process. Mm-hmm. And so I love that she's pointing that out. And I just love the way that she laid it out. It wasn't like, after months of nagging him, I finally got him to, like, I nailed him down to the ground and got him to do this morning routine, and then was like, well, I'm not doing morning routine anymore. It was like, no, it was like a mutual meeting of, like, here's a situation that's going to change. And then when she got back, he was like, I would actually love to continue to do this, which is so vulnerable, mm-hmm. right? So vulnerable for him to even say, like, I really enjoyed this. I would like to keep doing this. Because, right, she had, you can always say yes, no, or shut down, mm-hmm. right? And she leaned in and said, yeah, absolutely. I would love to continue to give up that control or try, right? Let's try it and see how it feels. And I love that.
Yeah. And I do think that's a really good point. I think there's this idea of, like, a weekend dad, and it's like, daddy who makes dinner on the weekends or, like, does the fun stuff. It's
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes.
It's Mrs. Doubtfire prior divorce, like when they find out, right? Like, it's the party, throwing the party with the petting zoo and the cake and all of the shit, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I really appreciate there is that magic in, like, the small moments, and it goes. I brought this up with the Mad Mommy on purpose because, like, I was talking to Chelsea, the author of Mother Brain. I was talking to her recently, and there's this recurring theme, and Mickey Kendall too. Like, I'm starstruck. I've been talking to all of these amazing people, and
not to name drop, but.
The theme keeps on coming up that mothers are very, very important. Primary caregivers are very important. They are not enough. They're not enough. And so like you can be essential and needed and important and all of these things that we're told as little girls, and we're going to become these like special mommies. But we also, like, the patriarchy gatekeeps all this shit from men. And like, last night I was like, okay, my husband's going out of town this weekend. It's like the third weekend in a row he's been out of town. And I was like, I need the night off. I'm going to be alone with these kids for like 6 out of the next 14 days, please. And I just like sat in my car around the corner. Like, that's all I did. I sat in my car.
The classic car sit. The classic car sit with a burger. That's what I do. Yeah.
But in the meantime, I came home later and he's like, oh, the girls made their own dinner. They picked what they wanted. Franny cooked the noodles. Charlie decided to make like bread with whatever. She cooked her own crescent rolls. They both cut up their vegetables. They cleaned up after themselves. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the energy to be facilitating this sort of learning right now in the middle of dinner when I am like under the wire trying to get them to bed. And he did those like magic moments that absolutely, like you said, like there's one thing when he takes one of them out for sushi, and that's so nice, and I'm jealous. But also he gets to be involved in these moments where, like, you know, same thing. Hey, mom, we're out of socks. And I'm like, talk to your dad, dude. I don't know. Like, he also is responsible for these things and the lessons. And when I gave up my control, same thing. I thought that this had to be my thing. And when I just stopped, he was eager and excited and felt the immediate benefit of the empowerment that comes with making decisions and having control of these things. And our kids love it too.
That's the thing. I feel like it benefits the kids most of all, right? And having those special like they become memories, right? Like those become like special specific memories. Or, you know, they grow up how did you learn how to chop vegetables? Oh, my dad taught me. My dad used to, you know, when my mom would have nights off, my dad would teach me how to chop vegetables. Like, that's beautiful, right? To be able to have that and take that opportunity. I love that.
Yeah, and it's not just like, okay, it's really cool to learn how to fish, or like, you know, dad coached my soccer team, like something like that. The one-off special things.
Right.
But like you said, like it can't just be Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, it can't just be, he did the party. That's not fair. That's how you get mad mommy.
It's not fair when Sally Fields shows up with a cake.
Right.
And then the fucking donkey steps on it. Like, the pony steps on it. It's not fair to her.
No.
It's not fair to her.
No, it's not. Okay. I mean, do you have any last musings? I think we can wrap this up super quick.
I mean, listen, I could talk about feminism and the patriarchy and domestic labor all day long, so I probably shouldn't. But I think these were great. I think these were really great. We love hearing about y'all's wins. So when you have those, please send them in to us, if only so that it's stored in a place where you can remember that it happened. Because that's how our brains are wired, to remember the bad things over the good things. So shoot those to us. We'd love to talk about them and to read them on air.
That's right. And just, I want to like echo what you said, just to repeat it. It can feel so much. Actually, I was just talking to a client about this. It can feel like you are mad at your partner when the broader context, and like there might be some rightful anger there. Okay. Like
totally,
for sure. But it's broad, like feminism isn't about men. It's about patriarchy. It's about the boxes that we are put into and the expectations that are placed on us. So, like, the feelings are valid, but also we can be valid. Personally responsible in our own lives for, like, contextualizing and unpacking that.
Absolutely. Great summary.
Okay, everybody, send us your questions. Something that we recently threw out there on our Instagram is we're going to be asking some prompts like, hey, what's the worst advice a couples counselor has given you? What is an argument that boiled you over? Like, we want to hear. You may feel like you're living in a vacuum. You may feel like you are living on an island, a unique experience. You're not.
Definitely not.
You're a part of all of us.
And we want to make sure you know that.
Yes.
Yeah, we want to make sure you know that.
Some more info in the show notes, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.